Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co host, Michael Hall.
Yo, 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 yo.
Hey, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Michael Reed had some last minute things come up. He's about to go on vacation. His wife is having him run around everywhere, go all over the place, so he's going to try to join us at some point during this broadcast, but we have a bunch to go over. And it seems like every single day there's a new pile on. There's just new information regarding the name change. And it seems like Redskins Twitter falls in love with a new name weekly at this point. And latest that we have heard was from Adam Schefter, who said that the Redskins are most likely not going to have any Native American imagery associated with the logo. Mike, what is your immediate reaction?
I mean, obviously it makes sense. The whole new name change. Obviously, I feel like I like a lot of fans. They want to keep the logo because obviously it's like one of the last like things as far as imagery they can hold on to with the name change. Me,
Yeah.
not Redskins anymore. But as far as like the whole like just distancing themselves from the whole like Native American imagery, again, it makes sense because it's been a controversy going back to
The
since Dan
80s.
Snyder owned the
Yeah.
team. Even before that, it's been a controversy. But obviously, in the past 20 years, because we've just been so inept in winning, it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And but again, at the end of the day, I welcome it, and I hope they come up with a new logo that fits whatever the new name is. And I know we're going to get into that a little bit later on,
Mm-hmm.
or probably coming up after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got pretty much. I just hope that yeah, it's like some a logo that's not going to get us made fun of even more than we already do, pretty much.
Right. And the thing is, I listened to the Redskins Tweet Team podcast with Burrows and Maurice, and they had Joe on, who's in South Dakota, lives on a reservation. He actually traveled to New York and was fighting with the protesters. And the one quote I took from him that blew my mind was that he said that he went with another Native American. They went to New York to go protest the protesters, and they were getting heckled. They were getting called names. They were being harassed by the protesters. So
The
my
protesters,
whole
the protesters were Native Americans, right?
no, they weren't even Native Americans.
Oh, well, really?
Yeah, so like the whole point is like, what are we doing here? Why are you? So it kind of like rears its ugly head into kind of I understand trying to take away the racist name, but why are you treating people like that disagree? You know, it just goes on to this whole outrage mob. And speaking of, I think 1067 had the congresswoman on from DC, and she's kind of pulling that whole. It's called moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
And Mariel Bowser said the Redskins will not come here unless they change the name. Dan Snyder releases, yes, I'm going to review the name change. Then Mariel Bowser comes out and says, actually, you know what? That's not the only thing
Yeah.
that you need to do. It's called moving the goalposts. It's trying to get as much out of you as possible. So as soon as you not as soon as you bend over, that's when they really start thrusting, and that's what I kind of see happening here. Do you?
Yeah. Nah, I actually caught the tail end of that interview on my lunch break today at work, and
Mm,
I had the same exact thoughts. I was like, literally, I didn't even have to hear the whole interview
mm,
to even know what it was about. I was just like, well, didn't you just come out and say that they will never come there as long as the name's like not this Redskins? Now that they're reviewing the name, obviously they're going to change the name.
right.
Like you said, you're moving the goalpost. Now it's well, there's other hurdles that have to go into it. A team is only going to be there maybe 8 times a year, and we want to put stores and housing. Look, I'm all for like people like, and that's like the last spot in DC, obviously that you can build because it's a small city.
Yeah.
And look, I'm all for people like opening up businesses and making money and like people getting housing and stuff like that. But do you really honestly think that even if it's only 8 times a year, if RFK gets rebuilt as the new Redskins Stadium, that's going to generate less money than housing and retail stuff? Like, no, that's going to
Mm,
be the cash cow of the city, obviously. And if we obviously we both think the Redskins are on the come up right now, so once the team starts building, getting better and better and better, it's even more money getting poured in because people actually start going to the games more.
yeah.
So I don't. I mean, like you said, at this point, I just think it's a Dan Snyder thing. She wants Dan Snyder to not be the owner, and then okay, you can come. You can come into Reds. You can come to RFK now.
And I'll tell you what, I 100% agree with you. And I think there is a very adamant and legitimate reason why they're doing it, and I think it's because he donated to the current president.
Yeah.
There is a campaign right now going and targeting Dan Snyder, in my opinion. On Twitter earlier, I alluded to a rabbit hole and a theory that I've been having because I've seen these Redskins anonymous accounts, and obviously they're all probably innocent. But in my mind, in my conspiracy theory loving mind, I have to be able to pick this apart a little bit and kind of see it for what it is. And what I see happening, guys, is these accounts have been pushing every name except the Warriors. They don't like it at all. It's the one name that they do not want to go near. And we've heard it before. Why don't they want to do the Warriors? Because with the logo, it would still be demeaning, which doesn't make any sense. But my whole theory here is that it's causing dysfunction among the fan base. If Dan won't sell the stake to Bezos, he won't sell the team to Bezos, what would be the best form of attack? Being able to get the fan base to hate whatever change is about to happen so they leave and money leaves Dan's pockets. So he's forced to sell. And honestly, that's what I kind of see happening here because it's rubbing me the wrong way with how much of this movement is really being directed in social media, and it's just really weirding me out how pressurized it is, in my opinion. And the one weird, sinister thing to me is, why don't we want to honor the military? Like, if you have to explain what the military affiliation is, I feel like the military affiliation is going to go by the wayside in 5 and 10 years. I think it should be the cornerstone. I think it should be the stabilizing piece of the Redskins name. And I know that you asked the question earlier, like, why does it have to, is it because of Ron Rivera having the military ties? But like, in my mind, honestly, what other thing do we have to be able to, besides the government, to be able to say, what does DC represent?
Yeah,
And
you're right with that. Like, I didn't even like. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
yeah, you were right with that earlier. Because like, again, I was just, I just like to ask questions, throw stuff out there. Like to go back and forth with people on Twitter. I forgot how fun it is. But yeah, I just throw questions out there like, oh, what would this? What would this? And yeah, once you said that, I was like, I mean, yeah, there is like the naval, the Navy Yard, and obviously like all like the history and stuff like that. So it would make sense for what's it called, like the military tie in there. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I have no problem with it. I was just throwing the question out there.
Yeah, and like, but like, I've had that question asked to me before. Like, why does there have to be a military connection?
Right.
And there's a huge military connection down in DC. You got the Arlington Cemetery.
Well, like the whole DMV. So
Yeah, you have the Arlington Cemetery, and in the Arlington Cemetery, you have the tomb of the unnamed soldier, who is there's literally guys, there's literally people buried there that they don't know the names of.
right,
That, like, you have to imagine these dudes gave their lives for our country, and they didn't have family to name them.
right,
They're not remembered. They're forgotten. And it's such a when you go there, you really feel it. You see the rows of the cemetery. You really take it all in. And I think that Ron Rivera is 100% right. If there's any way to get away from all of this controversy, it's having the military take away the Native Americans, fine, whatever, and to have the military standpoint, because nobody can argue that.
if you argue that, then it's like, what are you arguing? Because
Right.
against the military, against like, you know what I'm saying? So that's the perfect turnaround.
Yeah, and the guy Joe that the Redskins Tweet Team podcast had on, he reiterated what I have been saying for weeks and weeks. What this is trying to do is it's trying to erase Native American imagery,
Right.
like altogether. And a lot of Native American, and I'm not going to say a lot because people have a problem with that, but there was many, including Joe and people that he knows, that view it as a badge of honor. They view it as pride, as Redskins warriors, and they have that on their chest and they love it. And he said, one quote, he said, there was even Cowboys fans on the reservation that don't want it to be changed because they love that Cowboys versus Indians and versus Natives kind of aspect of it. And I 100% agree with him. What we're doing here is we're erasing Native Americans. Why?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you said it, you can't say it any better. I've seen obviously people like tweeting at Reed and retweet. He was retweeting some stuff where the same exact thing you were saying, where some guy was like, "I'm a Native American, and the reason I started watching football was because of the Redskins name, and I felt pride and honor with that. And like with them getting rid of the name and the logo, I kind of feel like I'm not going to be not only just a Redskins fan anymore, obviously, but just not even a fan of football anymore because he doesn't want to switch affiliations. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely hitting home with some people that obviously are Native American and they love and respect and don't want to change, but the other people on the other side obviously outweigh the people that want to keep it changed and with the whole climate in the world today and everything. So
And
it's just time. So I mean, what can
it
you do?
yeah, and it's unfortunate because it feels like the minority is winning. And the
Yeah,
one thing that Joe said on the podcast was, we thought this fight was over with the courts.
yeah,
And dude, I'm telling you, if you listen to that podcast, you can hear and just feel the passion and like devastation of
right.
him over this
Whenever you
stuff.
can listen to it.
Yeah, because like he's like it's been a battle for years and years for them, and it just feels like it's rearing its ugly head. And now they thought they won, and then all of a sudden it's about to come all crashing down within a month or so.
Yeah.
And one thing, I'm not sure if you were able to catch this on Twitter because I deleted it right after I put it out there.
Mhm.
But the Redskins Black Entertainment Network, they just released this. I looked it up. It got created in June
Mhm.
last month.
Yeah, I remember that. Man.
And now everyone has been saying that the Redskins name change has been talked about for months and months now, ever since Ron came in the building. So my question is, why would you make that account in June knowing that the name change was coming?
Right.
I know that you can change the tags and you can change all of that, but wouldn't you like logically think that you would wait for the name change to make that
Yeah.
account?
Yeah, no, I agree. Also, they probably just made it in June because Dan Snyder's probably been pushing back. If you see the reports about how the minority orders were pretty much trying to pretty much push Dan out and get them to sell
Yeah.
his stake in the team. So he's probably buckled down. He's like, I'm not changing the name. I told you guys never. Like blah blah blah. We're going forward as Redskins. Like so, and then all of a sudden, like you said, the last month, I think that all this stuff's coming to light. Obviously, the minority orders are pushing all this information out to the media. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and that was one thing that really weirded me out on yesterday was or because I started realizing last weekend when it got announced that Fred Smith they wanted out of their stakes, there was a legitimate push on social media with all these Adnan accounts that were pushing Jeff Bezos as the guy to get the money, the guy to buy them out. And the one thing I'm sitting here saying is, why? You
right,
know, why would you be doing that? Why would you? Why if the minority shareholders want out, why is your immediate reaction for Dan to sell the team? Unless you have some sort of underlying agenda. And look, I have my opinion about Dan. I feel like he screwed up this franchise one way or another. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But I feel like what's happening here is gross, and
yeah,
it's just it's out of this world what's happening to Dan. I feel bad for him because it feels like there is a legitimate campaign to try to force him out through social media,
right.
and they're doing it in the name of Redskins fans, and it's very weird to me. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Yeah, no, I like you said, 100% agree. Like I said, all these minority owners pushing all this information out, and again, Tom Lavero from 106 came out and he was on the Junkies this morning, and he has an article out where he was pretty much saying that, like you said, this has been brewing for like months and months and months, and they pretty much were just tired. They realized, I guess, that Dan was just not going to cave in, which is why this whole landslide of ridiculousness came out. And like you said before earlier, a little while ago, they're doing it through the fans, and it's literally tearing the fan base apart. When literally, if you just think about like before, like a month and a half ago, before all this stuff happened, even since Ron Rivera's got hired and hired his whole coaching staff, it's been like a united front of Redskins. Like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, like there's finally hope again. Like
Yep.
this is the turning point again. Like
Mm-hmm.
a new year. Like oh, this is the one. And then now here we are a month or so later, and it's just right back to division again. And yeah, like you said, the media and Twitter is the ones that are literally pushing the divide between us, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's like really a divide, but you know what I mean? Like it's causing like negative feeling if the name that they don't like gets picked.
Right.
Because you know like this one account in particular has a far reach and it's a very impressive. It's incredibly impressive for them to be able to do this. But what's happening is all of those people that's backing them, that loving that name, that's immediately going to start a negative feeling when it's a name that they don't like.
Exactly.
And it's a really weird circumstance to me because it's almost like, well, what is your agenda here? You even said yesterday that the leader in the clubhouse is Warriors.
Yeah,
So why are you on this whole force to try to get the Red Wolves pushed through, which I absolutely hate. I think it's a ridiculous name, just like the Red Hawks. I
right,
loved the Red Tails, but there's obviously a little bit of funniness with that because people would make fun of the name. I really don't care about that. I said to we have a close friend, Mike and I, Brandon, whose great uncle was actually a Tuskegee Airman.
yeah,
And I made a comment to him a couple months ago. And I don't want to offend anyone by saying this, but I said, it was like those guys were like Jesus level type stuff. And what I mean by that is they were fighting for a country that wasn't showing them love. They went out there, they sacrificed their lives to be able to make this country better and to win that war and to take evil off this earth. And they did it in the name of the USA. They
right.
didn't complain and all of this. And like, I really have so much respect for those guys. I told Brandon, your bloodlines are golden,
Yeah,
because those dudes are just out of this world. And I wish that the people nowadays had 1/5 of the cojones that they did, because
yeah,
I feel like it's like for them to be able to do that, to not hate their country, for the love of their country, be able to go fight, and even though they weren't accepted at that time, I think it's something out of this world and needs to be honored. I really do. And I love the Red Tails. It's just I think Warriors can be used, and you can still. And I think there should be a statue if there is a new stadium. There should be a statue of the Tuskegee Airmen put at the stadium. If we're going to be honoring the Warriors, that's how I feel.
right. No, yeah, I agree. Like I said before, I've always liked Warriors. If it had to change, that's been my number one pick. Obviously, the Red Tails, like you said, it's a great story, and even if they change it to the Red Tails, I wouldn't even be mad at that. Like, you know
Yep.
what I'm saying? Like that's the Washington Red Tails. Like, hail to the Red Tails, keep the fight song and all that good stuff. So, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I know Reed was like, oh, every time we get beat, they'd be like, we whipped our tails, the Red Tails, which is actually a good one. I didn't even really think of
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I don't really mind. Like, I mean, we've been getting our ass whipped most of the time for 20 years now,
Right.
anyway. I'm used to it at this point. But yeah, like you said before, Warriors is always my. This has been my number one pick since the whole thing started, and I hope they go with that. And it
Ye-
seems to be that's what they're going with as right now. I mean, we all know 24 hours now could be something different.
Now, I will say the reason why I have stayed away from the R is because years ago I read this article about the start of the Hail to the Redskins when that first was created, and it was created with George Preston Marshall, and there was like some combination or added of like it's from like Nazi Germany because
Really.
yeah, like it's something really weird. It was long ago that I read it, so I don't want to go into act like I know it's fact or anything. But I read that long ago, and that's always stuck with me because that's why I feel like people should not be clinging to an R word just to keep the name. If we're gonna make this change from George Preston Marshall, we have to cut the cord and
Yeah,
completely separate ourselves.
yeah,
And,
no, you're right. You're right.
and that's why I kind of like if that is true, I don't want to keep that saying. I know that we love the tradition of it and everything, but we have to be honest about the entire situation, I feel. And I'm not trying to be a part of the woke crowd. The thing is, I'm just so tired of this. I'm ready to go play some football and win some games. And I'm just tired of all of this, just this negative talk about the Redskins. It just always feels like on top of being bad football team, we just always had this dark cloud over this franchise.
Exactly. Like that's what I'm saying before. I like it goes back to what I said before. It was like ever since November or January, whenever Ron got hired, it's been like a uniting force as he's been adding Del Rio, adding the coaching staff, bringing in free agents after the draft, getting Chase Young. It's been like this one united like, oh my gosh, like this could be the like I said the turning point to return us to like winning days, a contendership, and dare I even say the glory days of the Hogs and Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just hope that like I was again going back and forth on someone on Twitter, and at the end of it, I was just like, I'm just so tired of like talking about the name and like
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see him on the field. Like I just want to see what happens on the field. I'm tired of like what off the field stuff. I want to focus on the field and I want to see some actual live football being played.
Yeah, and thank goodness for Dwayne and Chase Young coming out with workout videos today just to give us something of football to get away from all of this name change talk and
Exactly.
everything. But we're gonna come back to this. Don't worry, guys. We're gonna go through each name. But the next thing I wanted to talk about, was D-Hall. D-Hall said publicly, I think it was yesterday, that he regrets not signing with the Patriots and signing with the Redskins. Before I go on my tangent, Hall, let me get your opinion.
D Hall, my seventh cousin's first uncle twice removed. Bruh, what are you doing? What are you saying? First of all, you deserve to be like a dummy smack for why would you even come to the Redskins if you had an offer to go to the Patriots in the first place?
Right.
This was like when they were winning Super Bowl, like they were just like running everything. So
Right. Dude, like this was like,
that's
wasn't that like 2008? Like when they were like undefeated too.
exactly that's my. I'm just like, wait, what? Like you what? Okay, well that's your first part. That's your first. That's your first mess up right there. So
You probably shouldn't admit
not
that
like
to people,
your
honestly.
legacy might have been different. Well, yeah, clearly. Second of all, when you signed here, you were like, oh, I want to come back home. I want to play for the hometown team. Like blah 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 blah. And fast forward, now you're retired. You're still like doing stuff here and there for the Redskins and stuff like that. You're on NFL Network. Weren't you just trying to get a coaching job with the
Yep.
Redskins a couple months back,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't get the job? So now all of a sudden, everyone else in the world and in the NFL world is piling on the Redskins and Dan Snyder and blah blah blah. You decide, well, I guess I'm still a little bit salty. I didn't get a coaching job, so let me just pile on a little bit by throwing this little tidbit out there. I wish I would have signed with the Patriots. Well, again, you're a dummy because they were running stuff back in the the late 2000s,
Yep.
or the late 2000s. So, yeah, you can go on your rant. That's all I really got. Like, you're still my boy, D Hall. Like, I'm still gonna mess with you, but like, come on, bro,
Yeah.
donkey.
Look, everyone knows I'm a Virginia Tech fan. I was actually able to see D Hall play at Tech when he was there. I believe it was against Maryland actually, and they won that game. It was I love D Hall. I was a fierce defender of him when he was here. When he was literally targeted by everyone in the fan base as the worst corner. Remember, he used to bite on double moves all the time. All you had to do was run an out and up on D Hall, and it was a touchdown. And it's unfortunate that he feels like right now is a good time to be able to kick the Redskins.
Right.
And they're down and they're hurting right now. And a former player that says he's a Redskins faithful that like you said, wanted a job here as a coach, wanted to help these young guys go, and you're kicking them while they're down. And what this seems to me, this reeks of desperation because he's trying to get back in the studio. He leaks this out because he wants NFL Network to give him a call. He wants to go get back in the studio. He wants to go talk to ESPN and get radio gigs about what he's talking about.
Right.
That right there is selfish and I think is very, very telling of who D Hall is as a person. I'm going to be straight up honest with you because there is some sort of pride along here and there is a level of respect that you have for people. And what he just showed is that he has none for the Redskins. That he puts himself over everything else, and honestly, that pisses me off. We need the help of the fan base. Like we said, we were very united up until 3 weeks ago. And now all of a sudden, Redskins Twitter is split right in half, and now D Hall's kicking us while we're down, just adding more fuel to the fire. I don't understand it, and I wish that he wouldn't have said that. Maybe he could have said that in closed circles and stuff like that. But the reason why he said it publicly, in my opinion, was for his own benefit, and it really pisses me off that he would think that he can get away with that.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it, I mean, he was trying to get a job with the old regime. He was
Yep.
sucking up to Bruce Allen. I mean, he's always been tight with Dan Snyder, so I mean, I'm not gonna say he was sucking up to him, but he was a guy with the old regime. Now there's a new regime. Obviously, he's kind of like, oh, I feel like I'm not really tied into this new regime. They're not really like giving me that access that the last regime really was, and
Well,
so I
it,
mean,
it
he's just like
begs the
just like, oh, let me throw some jabs at him real quick.
it begs the question, dude. Was D Hall's alliance to Bruce?
Oh yeah, he was propping up Bruce the whole time, and I guarantee he was probably in alliance to Bruce.
Yeah, because you have to imagine. Remember when D Hall was coming out with all those terrible takes on Trent Williams, getting everyone sized up that Trent Williams was coming back sooner rather than, or was that Santana? Sooner rather than later. I think it was D Hall. I'm pretty sure it was D Hall that said that.
I think it was D Hall, yeah, because he was the one giving out all the information in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and so Bruce was saying that. Bruce was saying that from the get go. He's coming back. He's coming back. Don't worry. Don't worry. Maybe that's where his alliance was because you have to imagine Bruce did bring him here.
Yeah.
Bruce was the one. Remember, DHalls' contract is the one that got the Redskins the salary cap penalty, the
Exactly.
the non-existent salary cap penalty. And
Yeah.
remember, I know that guys out there respect Roger Goodell and everything, but it proved that the Mora up in New York was pissed that the Redskins were able to draft a quarterback and then had a crap load of money in salary cap, and they were going to be able to flip the switch immediately and become a good team. So you know what the NFL did? They said, okay, we'll put a salary cap penalty on them when we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And then when the Redskins go to fight it, they don't even allow them to have a defense.
Exactly.
They hit the gavel right before we could even talk.
Yep.
And that was very telling to me. And we stuck it out for D Hall those years. D Hall brought some negative things here, and obviously that is continuing. And it's very unfortunate. As a Virginia Tech faithful, I'm disappointed. And I thought D Hall was a really good guy, and I'm sure he is. I really am. I'm sure he's a great guy off the field when you go talk to him. But I just feel like this was so disrespectful, and this was something that didn't need to be said. Like, literally, it's irrelevant to the entire situation.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything. That's my whole point. It's just like, again, it's like you're kind of putting yourself out there, like the stupid decision that you made, because again, this is when the Patriots were in their heyday, like killing it, like going crazy, running. I mean, they've been running NFL for 20 years, but like legitly running the NFL, stacked super team, and you chose the hometown team because you wanted to bring back the hometown team. You wanted to revive them, and since they didn't actually really get revived, now you think again, it's a landslide on the Redskins. Let me just join in on the landslide and slide down the hill with them. And like, nah, man, it's not cool. Like I said, still my boy. Obviously, I'm still gonna like listen to your takes. I'm gonna listen to when you're on the radio and on TV. And I hope you do get a coaching job. Like honestly, you're a hell of a player. That would be a hell of a coach. And I wish you would have got a job with the Redskins, but clearly that ain't happening ever again now.
No, it is not. I can guarantee you that. Now, the NFL, Adam Schefter had just put it out earlier today that the NFL is not going to require the players or coaches on the sideline of games to wear face masks. But they're allowed to play the game. But after the game, they can't even exchange jerseys. And I give a lot of credit to Richard Sherman because I've said this for a long time. Richard Sherman is incredibly wise. He is very smart. He is way beyond his years. Obviously, he went to Stanford for a reason. He's a very intelligent guy. And he picked this apart immediately. And he said, this is absolutely ridiculous what you're doing with this. And my comment back to him was, it's almost like they're saying you guys can interact when we're making money off of it.
Exactly.
When the cameras are off of you, you can't interact anymore. But what's your reasoning for that? What did you think?
Yeah, nah, 100% agree. I kind of before I even saw Richard Sherman's tweet, I heard that on the 106.7 Grant and Danny. I heard like that was like kind of breaking news or whatever, and I literally went to Twitter and was just like, so wait, they're gonna play a whole 3-hour game where they're gonna be tackling each other, sweating on each other, probably bleeding on each other at some points. But then after the game is over, they can't shake hands and exchange jerseys. Like, how does that even make sense? So I just forgot my whole point because I was literally just like thinking how stupid that was. Um, yeah, I don't know. It'll come back to me. Hold on.
It is absolutely ridiculous because, like you said, you're touching each other the entire game. You're breathing on each other and everything. But then you can't exchange jerseys after the game. What is the reasoning for that? Because if you can't exchange after the game, then why are you playing the game?
Right, exactly. So it's just like it gives credence to what you said, where it's kind of like, oh, so once the first quarter starts and the first kickoff starts, everything's fair game. You can do whatever you want, like blah blah blah. But once that fourth quarter ends, that 60 minutes is up, and the stadium's well, if there's fans there, it's emptying.
Right.
Like you said, the lights are cut off, the cameras are done. The commentators are saying, "Hey, we're going to the 4:30 games." As when it comes to the Redskins, now all of a sudden, hey guys, you got to social distance, man. Like you got to be 6 feet apart. You can't be doing this, can't do that. It's kind of like it goes back to the whole credence of all these NFL players saying that a lot of these owners have kind of like the slave mentality of, "Hey, you work for me and you're gonna do what I say." But once that's over, it's done. So I don't know.
It's absolutely ridiculous because the NFL is basically saying you can interact and everything, but we own you, and we're saying you cannot interact after a certain point.
Like the slave mentality, where it's like we own you and you only do whatever we say, and as long as you're making us money, like it's kind of you're just to the wayside. You're a pawn in our big game, pretty much.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it doesn't make any sense. And a lot of credit for Deshaun Watson for coming out with that tweet, just saying what?
Yeah.
Um, utterly ridiculous. Because it's like the NFL cowtailing to the woke mob and to the everyone that's against the coronavirus and everything like that. And I've said for a while the NFL is way too smart to not take advantage of this opportunity and to get that money because there's a lot of money at stake. The only sports that are on right now is golf. I know that baseball is scheduled to come back in 2 weeks, but we don't know if that's really going to happen. The NBA is down in Orlando, but we don't know if that's actually going to go through. So the NFL has an opportunity to take the country completely by storm come September. And like Lake said, they might push it back 2 weeks, but they're way too smart to be able to let that money go away. And for them to be able to acknowledge that they can play football, but you can interact after the game, says a lot about them and their thought process with all of this because it's ass backwards in my opinion.
Yeah, I know they're coming out with the whole like opt out clause where if you don't feel safe or if you have a pre existing health issue, you can opt out and like blah blah blah. But I heard one take where it was like if they're gonna have these type of rules and kind of like weird stuff like that, a lot of these players are gonna opt out, and you might see a lot of big names like not playing this year. And I was like, maybe if you're like the top notch quarterbacks, like the 45 or the 35 million plus guys making like millions of dollars, you can maybe afford to take a hit just like Trent Williams did if you're an
Yeah.
established person. But like they say, 60-70% of the NFL is those minimum wage, minimum contract guys. That's the meat of the NFL.
Yeah.
And again, you got to think about these guys only really get paid outside of endorsement money, and like unless you're again a superstar or a star,
During
you're
the
not getting
season.
big endorsement money. They only get paid for what from pretty much training camp in July or whatever August until if you make it to the playoffs February.
Yeah.
So pretty much for 4 or 5 months of the year, you're only getting a paycheck, and I guarantee a lot of these players are gonna like opt in to play anyway, just because like they need to get paid, they need to like bills and stuff like that. So I just kind of thought that take was kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, and the one thing we all have to remember as well, the NFL players do not get paid for preseason.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone forgets that. They only get paid for regular season games, which is kind of why RG3 put out that cryptic tweet the other day, talking about the NFL preseason, hearing that they might eliminate the preseason
Mm-hmm.
this year, and then Lake immediately after tells us they're gonna actually push it back 2 weeks,
Right.
which it would make a lot of sense if they just eliminated it because the players like, look, dude, I'm not gonna put myself in that position, regardless of how you feel about COVID and everything. They're not gonna put themselves in that position when they're not getting paid. And
Exactly.
and I know everyone wants to be able to have that competition level, that scrimmages, and there's ways to go about it and to combat it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to get the same type of viewership and monies that the ownership really wants. And speaking of that, I thought the Ravens did a good job, and the Ravens came out and said that they were going to allow 14,000 seats in the stadium this season.
Yeah.
And the reason why I give them credit is because guys like Chris Bryant that we've had on the podcast before, they were tweeting at the Redskins saying, I have season tickets this year. Like, how does this impact me? Am I allowed to go to the game? Am I one of the select few that will be able to go? And a
Right.
credit to the Ravens because they immediately came out and said all season tickets are being defected to next season. If you paid for it, that's where it's going for. It's going to 2021. And a lot of
Right.
credit because they got in front of it, where the Redskins have gone dead silent the past 2 weeks. So, what was your opinion on that by the Ravens?
Yeah, it was a great thing they did, and same thing the Browns did. They put out a statement said that if you have season tickets, you can actually get your money back for them. You can actually get a refund on them, or you can hold them over 2021. So obviously, a lot of teams are getting out, jumping out in front of this. I think that stadiums are going to be like you can have fans like state by state or county by county or something like that.
Hmm.
So obviously, there's going to be fans in a couple of stadiums and not fans in a couple of stadiums. I think so. It's good on people to like jump in front of it. From all the reports we're hearing, Dan's been out on his yacht for the past couple of months, just chilling, relaxing, maxing, relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, he's behind the curve on which he usually always is. And yeah, so I mean, hopefully the Redskins will come out sooner or later. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
Say something to the fans because again, this will just be another dividing force with
Mm-hmm.
the fan base and make them have more resentment to the whole name change and the new era of Redskins football, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, and look, we're not asking for them to come up with a remedy right away. Just give the fans some guidance. Just
Yeah.
give them something to go off of right now because there's a lot of questions. And I know, obviously, the Redskins probably don't have all the answers, but there is a way to be able to comfort fans and say, look, we got you. Don't worry. We're not going to screw you over. We're going to figure it out. You are in our best interest. I think that would be very smart by the Redskins to go that
I think
route.
that once that they get the name change and they got to get the whole rebrand and then get the more merchandise out again, I think that's when they'll finally be like, hey, this is what we're gonna do because obviously they're gonna take a hit with the whole merchandise losing, lawsuit and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, obviously, hopefully they want to change the name before the season starts. So again, just hopefully send out some little message to the fan base and definitely those season ticket holders because again, those are the ones that kind of make the not really make the team go round, but that's important people in the fan base. You can't really distance the season ticket holders.
Yeah, and look, my dad's company used to have like season tickets for the Redskins, like up until I think it was 2012, maybe 2013. They stopped doing it, but I was able to go down there and be in the lower bowl. Now last year, one of my guys in my company had won tickets to the Redskins game in a raffle, and he couldn't go, so he offered it to me. I took my wife, and it was the Detroit Lions game. Now we were actually able to sit in the lower bowl. The tickets were, and it was right next to season ticket holders. And what I mean is, these season ticket holders are the type of dudes that travel. They go to they go to see them in Carolina. They go up to Philly. They go up to New York and stuff. So these guys are veterans. When you talk about fans, they kind of had that resentment with the team, that kind of feeling that I had, where it was kind of like, I'm still gonna buy them, but it's like, like, oh, the same product, blah, 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 whatever have you. But those guys I kind of feel bad for because they've been here for so long and they're not getting any type of communication to them. They're not being told what can and can't happen. And so I feel really bad for them because the Redskins faithful deserve it. They deserve that kind of loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, Lake said it last week. He's been around a lot of teams, a lot of cities, and he's not just saying because he's from the area, but this is like this is the passionate fan base in the NFL. Like it gets no realer than the burgundy and gold. That is when you're a fan, it's literally in your blood. The burgundy bleeds through you. So yeah, it makes sense, and we gotta get this fixed, or the Redskins gotta get this fixed, not we.
And thank you. You just reminded me. Dude, me and Adam and Eva, we were going on something on Twitter because there was a Sports Illustrated article that talked about how, the Redskins logo, the name is offensive, and color scheme are offensive and harmful to the Native American community. Now, let me ask you a legitimate question. How in the hell is a color scheme derogatory, is harmful to anybody? And legitimately, can I ask you guys a question? Who in their right mind really believes that the Redskins name is the reason why Native Americans on reservations are deprived to poverty, to
Right.
addiction, to drug addiction, to alcohol addiction? And it's just absolutely mind-boggling to me that somebody from Sports Illustrated would put that on would put that on the internet
Yeah.
and think that is a logical point.
Right.
Are we being honest with ourselves? Can we have an adult in the room here? Like,
I hope his editor or higher up saw that and was just like, "What are you doing? Like, huh? Why did you do that?" And hope some repercussions came to that because that is, like you said, the most illogical thing I've ever heard. Like,
that's not the reason why. And if I heard somebody say, "Man, I've been going through a real rough time, bro." Dude, what's wrong, dude? Man, Redskins name, dude, just get me. It's just racist, dude. It's been beating me down. I don't know. I have to go see a therapist. Like, well, it's not because of Redskins name. It's probably because you need to go see a therapist.
right?
You got bigger issues, and especially with the color scheme. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. The Redskins logo was made by a Native American. It was considered to be prideful. So how in the heck it's considered harmful is beyond me. And look, I understand in the dictionary, the Redskins name is considered a derogatory term. But I'm gonna sit here and tell you, I don't believe that. And look, Larry Hogan decided, he wanted to put in his 2 cents. Oh yeah, I think the Redskins name is racist. I think it's derogatory. I don't care. You had no problem letting being with FedEx Field there. You had no issue at all. None at all. And we all know that Hogan is an Orioles and Ravens fan. I'm not going to sit here and mince words. He is. And honestly, I know that he's running for president in 2024. He's gearing up for it. And I felt like it was just another political stunt for him to push himself up.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he just announced he might run for president in 2024. So I mean, there you go.
It's all about promotion and marketing, right? Absolutely. So each name I wanted to ask you guys, each name that you think has a good chance of being the Redskins name change. We have here Warriors, Red Wolves, Red Tails, the Admirals, the Red Hawks. So I want you to rank them. What would you put it last?
Probably the Red Hawks I would put last. There's already the Seahawks. There's the Ravens, the Falcons. I don't think we need another bird, kind of like mascot or logo in the NFL. And again, Red Hawks just sounds like extra cheesy to me. And if you want to get away from the whole Redskins term, like you said before, it's kind of like just get away from the word red in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I feel like it's like a half-assed way of going about it, just putting red in front of anything. You know, I said it on Twitter the other day. I probably shouldn't have, but you can go red dildos, red rhinos, red horse, red cow. I mean, we can go on for days with this stuff. Just because you put red in front of it does not mean it's acceptable as a team name. And it's ridiculous. And I've said this from the start. I think Red Tails is number 2. I will be honest with everyone. I know the whole making fun of it and everything, but I think Red Tails is number 2 in my eyes. And I think then it goes to the Admirals. We had a guy on Twitter that reached out to us and said Admirals because the Navy Yard down in D.C. And I was like, that's a really good point.
I actually saw that tweet too, and I was like, I never really thought of that. Actually, that's pretty creative. I like that one.
Yeah, and then I had Ian Bacon hit me up, a good buddy there, Ian, there in the UK, and he said, Kyle, what do you think about Renegades? And Hall, you and I have talked about it before. I like the name The Renegade. It sounds really, really good, but the problem with that is the definition. It's considered a traitor, treacherous, going against his country, and you don't want to have that type of negative aspect to your team name. Yeah. And that's the unfortunate part because it sounds good. It sounds really good, I think.
Nah, I like we talked about before. I love Renegades, and I saw that on Twitter, and I saw like the R on the side of the helmet. I was like, whoa, that's fresh.
Yep.
You were like, you put the definition of Renegade, and I was just like, oh, well, yeah, that's not flying. That's not going to happen. But yeah, like I said, the leader in the clubhouse for me is Warriors, and for number 2, I'd probably go Red Wolves just because. Actually, you know what? Scrap out the Red Wolves. Number 2, I'll go Wolfpack. I know me and you talked about that.
Yep.
Before that, but number 2, I would love Wolfpack, just because again, you can have the logo as a wolf or something like that, and it'll get away from the whole Native American imagery, and yeah, you can just see hopefully they get back to RFK. You can just see the RFK Stadium rocking, a lot of everyone's howling like oh before the game and stuff like that. So yeah, I can see that definitely working. But again, anything other than Warriors, I'm gonna be kind of meh about it.
Yeah, because look, we were given criteria by Ron Rivera into what they were looking for the new name. And I know that originally they said that they wanted to still have the connection with the Native American community, but then Adam Schefter blows at it right up. So we don't really know what is going on in that area. Look, we can take Adam Schefter for his word, or maybe his source is just playing him for a fiddle. We don't know, honestly. But the Red Wolves thing, I think is ridiculous. It's actually the weakest of the wolves. They're facing extinction, and let's stop acting like we care about the extinction of animals. It's not like they're being hunted. It's survival of the fittest. That is the way of life, and unfortunately, it sucks for them. But it just doesn't fit. I saw one person, so ridiculous. One person wrote, they're about 200 miles away from D.C., so we can really keep it home to D.C. Do you know how many animals are within 200 miles of D.C., dude? In that case, why don't we just make it the Washington Crabs if you really want to be honest about this thing and what really represents this area?
Washington Red Crabs.
Don't do that. Don't start that, please. I don't want to go to that tomorrow. I don't want that to be the name tomorrow. Please don't do that to me. But seriously, I think this whole situation is ridiculous. And I think this is a very simple decision. I know that Mike Wise and company, a lot of people are saying you can't go to Warriors, but if you're taking away the logo, the name Warriors should not have an impact on anybody. If somebody has an issue with Warriors without the logo, you have bigger problems.
That's what I said on Twitter. Give someone shout out to Phil Ramos. was going back and forth with both of us. He was
That's
like
my
yeah,
biggest fan.
blah, and I was like, well, if you take away the Native American logo and switch it to like a W or a monument or whatever you want to make the logo, whatever, how would anyone draw comparisons from Warrior to Native Americans if there's no Native American ties anywhere in the logo or the name? Like, I was just like, what are we doing here at this point? Like, literally, there's, everyone knows this. You cannot please everyone in life.
Yep.
So, like, literally, obviously, there's going to be people mad that changes to this. There's going to be people mad that changes to that. Just make the right decision, the easy decision, the best decision, and move on from this because it's like, again, I'll go back to it again because everyone was unified under the Redskins umbrella. And once again, lightning is struck and just split it right down the middle.
Yep.
And I feel like once we get past the whole name change, a week or so, they'll talk about the name change and blah, blah, blah. And then it'll be back to just on the field talking about the Reds or the Warriors, if they're named the Warriors. And it'll be just football talk. And I feel like it'll bring everyone back, kind of inch them back in the unify to be like, all right, you know what? It's football time. It's like the start of the season, started training camp. We need to unify as one to get this team over the hump and become a winning franchise again.
Yeah, because look, I don't think there's anybody out there that would argue with the fact that this franchise is under attack on a national scale, and they are being pummeled and beaten under the ground. And look, I understand Dan hasn't been the most loyal to the fan base, but he is very loyal to his players. He has been, like Lake said, he has been very supportive of the Native American community. He's done a lot for them. He does not deserve this. This type of crazy attack on the entire situation, people trying to tell Dan what he should do with what he owns, is something out of this world. I don't understand why people feel like they have the audacity and the right to tell people what they should do with what they own. That's absolutely ridiculous to me. You work for what you want in this life, and that's what Dan has done. Credit to him for doing that. He's handled it the wrong way while he's been here, but I digress. It doesn't matter. I feel bad for Dan. And honestly, I will say this. I feel the worst for Ron Rivera. And the reason why is because, I am very loyal as a Redskins fan. I consider the Redskins as family, as something that I have grown up with. And I want Ron to want to be here. And the one thing that kills me, I said it to Zach Skelby on Messenger today. I don't want Ron regretting his decision coming here. And
Yeah.
that's what kills me the most, is because I'm sitting here thinking, like, maybe what if Ron's in his office like, dude, why did I do this?
This is not what I signed up for.
Right, and that kills me the most because you want him to be happy, you want him to embrace this city, embrace the great and loyal fan base that this is, and it almost just feels like he hasn't had that opportunity in the past couple weeks and month because it's just been an onslaught of just hate on whatever we do represent as a Redskins organization.
Yeah, I heard Chris Russell. I think it was or somebody. Maybe it was JP Finley on 106.7 either yesterday or maybe it was early today. I can't remember. But they were saying how Ron Rivera is kind of frustrated that he's having to deal with all this stuff that's off the field stuff that does not have to do with football.
That was Russell.
And then he would much rather obviously get the name change done and over with before the season starts, so that he can obviously just focus on the field football and coaching his team and turning his team around. So I definitely, like you said, I definitely feel bad for him, and I just hope that again they get this name change over with. We get the whole little week of talking about it, and the whole like I'm mad, I'm happy, I'm mad, I'm sad, and then like I said, just get back to hopefully by then training camp will be just getting ready to start, and there'll be actual football talk, not bullshit talk.
Yeah. And that's exactly the best way to describe this entire situation. Is it's a bunch of what ifs. It's a bunch of people aligning themselves with a name and going on tangents about why it works and what it does and how it doesn't. And I'll tell you right now, the one reason why I personally have a problem with the Red Wolves is because there will be no military connection. I don't care what anyone says. If you have to explain the military connection, it will be lost. And Ron Rivera said he wanted a camo uniform. That and a black uniform is what I am the most excited about.
Yeah.
And if it goes to Red Wolves, that camo uniform is not going to happen. But if you have the Warriors in there, you're going to be able to put in a black uniform. You'll be able to have a camo uniform. Because if you think about it, no other team in the NFL has a camo uniform.
Yeah.
We could have that hold endear to us. That could be our personal thing that we have, and that's something to take pride in as Redskins fans. And I said it on Tuesday. I cannot stand the argument that we can't be the Warriors because the Golden State Warriors exist. The NFL is king. All we'd have to do is make the playoffs 1 year with the Washington Warriors, and everyone would forget about Golden State,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
No, you're right. I mean, like we said it on Tuesday. It's like they got the Arizona Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals. You got the
Texas Rangers, the New
Texas
York Rangers.
New York Rangers. So it's just kind of like, come on. Again, it's like, what are we doing here, people? It's like, I know it's the whole cancel culture and everything like that, and come on, no.
I just feel like it's such a ridiculous argument that we're gonna live in the spotlight of the Warriors, and we don't have anything that's very specific and unique to us. Well,
Right.
we have a unique name right now, and that's very specific to us, and we're getting rid of it. So how did that work out for us the first time, pal? It didn't work out well.
And like you said, it's you know what? No one was talking about the Warriors and back when it was like the Baron Davis, Steven Jackson days because you know why? They sucked.
Yep.
They got Steph Curry, they got Klay Thompson, they got Draymond Green. They started winning championships. All of a sudden, oh, we love the Warriors, blah blah blah. They're popular. Well, guess what? The same thing will happen with the Redskins if they switch to the Warriors. You start winning games on the field, people start saying that, oh man, it's not the same old Redskins. It's not the same old Dan Snyder. The culture's actually really changed around Redskins Park. It's actually like a new era of Washington Warriors football. Then guess what? Everything will grow and the fan base will grow again, and people will be like, you know what? I like the Washington Warriors, not just those Redskins, man. I tell you what, they're same old Redskins. It'd be like, man, we got the Warriors. Like, yeah. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, and look, that is a great point by you because
Also, people want to talk about like, oh, you're erasing like legacies and like memories and blah blah blah. I understand that 100% because obviously I grew up a Redskins fan, so I'm not gonna lose all the memories, but it's gonna be kind of like sad to see him go. But guess what? You guys want to bring in the younger fan base again. You guys want to get new fans. Well, this is the perfect way to do it. Rebrand them, bring in a new fan base, bring back the younger fan base, and create new memories and a new legacy with those fans and with the older fans to be happy again. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and look, my father-in-law, who is obviously well older than me, grew up a Redskins fan, was watching Redskins games while he was stationed in Iraq, while he was out at service, and he has one of those camo RG3 salute to service jerseys, and he said to me today, out of anybody, he said, I'm tired of it, let's just get it done and move on. If he's telling you that, a lot of people feel the same way.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that, to be perfectly honest with you. And I agree with him. This horse has been beaten into the ground, and the one thing that breaks my heart is hearing Joe and the Native American community, if the logo is taken away, them feeling like they're being not represented anymore. And I understand the whole argument that like no other race is depicted in sports culture and things like that, but like no other race is going through what the Native Americans are. You know what I mean? Like they haven't been literally tried. Like nobody has really tried to execute all of them off the face of the earth and then allocated them to certain pockets in the United States, and those are just poverty stricken and just terrible places, and everyone knows. And I feel bad because it's almost like they live having something to pride themselves in, and that's being taken away. And I feel like if the Redskins do that name change, it would break my heart to know that, we made life worse for them by doing that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's crazy.
Yeah, break my heart. Now, we were going to talk a little bit about fantasy, Mike, but we're sitting here at 53 minutes, so I'm not sure if you want to do that.
I looked at the time too. I was like, damn, it's really been 54 minutes.
It's been a minute, dude. But one thing I do want to say though, like JP Finley has been really adamant about the Hogs, the Washington Hogs or Washington Warthogs, which I don't hate, but at the same time, JP, the same thing that we've been saying this entire time, it doesn't connect with the military. So what are we doing? Like, can we stop with this? We know the criteria at play. And Dan, I've said this. It's not just Ron. Dan has always been very, very generous with the military aspect. I remember that picture of Deshaun Jackson when he signed his contract. The picture that's behind Deshaun hanging on the wall is two U.S. soldiers laying on the ground with the Redskins blanket.
Right.
They hold the military very dear and close to them. And there is a good reason for that. And that needs to be kept. And I just don't feel like Dan is going to make a decision by turning his back not only on Native Americans, but by turning his back on the military as well. And I understand there's no connection with the military right now, but with the Redskins name. But they want to make sure that is the driving piece. And I agree with them.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, they changed to the Hogs, obviously the history of the Hogs and everything like that. And so I guess it could work, but like you said, no. Like you said, no military ties, and it's kind of just like, it's kind of, it doesn't really move me. It doesn't really move the sticks for me. So, yeah,
Let
Warrior.
let the
Warriors.
Exactly, and let the Hogs like be what they are, and they'll never leave. They'll never leave this fan base and this franchise forever. The Hog Farmers, Chris Bryan, who we've had on here before, who raised money for pediatric cancer. They'll always be here, and they need to have that kind of thing connection with them. The
Exactly.
Hogs is something very specific to us. It's a very small pocket of fans. I would love to actually get that re-energized to see if we could get a big group of Hogs
Exactly.
back again like they did in the old days. But I don't think it's going that way, brother.
I mean, I think it was Kevin Sheehan was saying that pretty much Warriors is already like locked in. It's going to be the name. They're just kind of hashing out all the details and stuff like that.
Semantics.
Yeah. So hopefully within the next by next Friday at some point, because I know training camp is what are we, July 9th?
Yeah.
Like 2.5, 3 weeks away or something like that. Yeah, 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks away. So hopefully by the end of next week, this whole thing will be done with. The new name will be there, and I guess obviously the logo would have to be there as well, and people can get their feelings out about it, and we can move on, and we can talk about training camp.
Yeah, and the absolute, I will be honest, the Red Wolves wasn't the worst that I heard, but the absolute worst was being pushed by JP, and that was the Washington Football Club. Can
Drab's the first one that came up with that.
take that around back and shoot it. Please do that immediately. Get that idea out of my face.
Drab's the one that came up with that first. I heard him say it on. I saw actually Cakes from 106. He retweeted that over the weekend whenever all this stuff was first coming out, and yeah, I was literally just like, I know Drab, you're a soccer fan, but like, nah, bro. Like,
Dude,
do you want Seattle to be called the Seattle Football Club, or do you want to be called the Seattle Seahawks?
right.
That's what I thought. No.
They also, I was listening to them the other day because they came up with one, the Washington Agents.
Yeah, I know
And
they're talking about that too. I was like,
dude, like I understand, like you guys are trying to do a bit here, but please stop. Like you're very bad at this.
we'll take that and run with it. Like, stop, please.
Like, that is so bad.
The Washington, what are they? The Washington Federals or something like that. The Washington Presidents. I was like,
Dude.
stop. You're giving the fans more energy, like more
Yeah.
like more stuff to push. Like, no, please stop.
Oh man, it's just absolutely the worst. It's like I told him I had to tweet back at him on Twitter, and I said, dude, just stick to Seattle. You know,
Right.
just leave us out of it. I really respect Drab because he's a hardworking guy,
Yeah,
works his butt off, and he's very funny and very good at what he does. Between him and Valdez, but picking Redskins names, please stop putting your 2 cents in, please.
Stick to your tennis courts, bro.
Stick to your tennis courts, bro. But congratulations to Drab, by the way. He's got twin babies coming on the way. And congrats to him. All right, everyone. Well, that's going to wrap us up for this show. I'm going to say bye to everyone from Mike Reed. I'm sorry he couldn't be here today, but he's starting his vacation early, and you know how it is when you got a pregnant spouse. When they want something done, you got to get it done, and that's exactly what he's doing. So, everyone, make sure you go like us on Facebook, on iTunes, and subscribe on iTunes. Also, like us on YouTube and subscribe on YouTube. And you can also find us on Good Pods. And then just follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us everywhere. Mike Hall's finally back on Twitter after a while. And what a time to be back on Twitter, by the way.
Right. It came back alive at the right moments, I guess, right? Like, I've been on fire ever since I came back. So give me a follow at TBZ Money Mike 301. And yeah, thanks for again, if you like, comment, share. If you have any questions and comments, leave them on Twitter or on any type of platform that we're on.
You know, and I played baseball, so I'm a superstitious person, and there's no coincidence that Mike re-energized his Twitter, and now Twitter has gone up in flames. It's true.
That's all my fault.
Right. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
Ball.
Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Redskins football. Woo!
Yeah.